In The Phantom Menace, the pivotal duel of the fates featured Qui Gon Jinn and his apprentice Obi-Wan Kenobi facing off against Darth Maul. Qui Gon understood the gravity of this confrontation. It signaled the resurgence of the Sith and held implications for Anakin Skywalker's future. Unfortunately, Qui-Gon was defeated. His death led to Anakin being trained by Obi-Wan, fulfilling Qui-Gon's last request. While Obi-Wan was a competent master, he acted more as a brother than the father figure Anakin truly needed. One of my favorite hypothetical scenarios explores what might have happened if Qui-Gon had survived the duel and taken Anakin as his Padawan. After the Jedi Council denied Anakin training due to his age, Qui-Gon Jinn was visibly frustrated. The Council's skepticism about the Sith's return, combined with their fear of the dark side, led them to hesitate in training the boy whom Qui-Gon believed to be the chosen one. Disappointed and disillusioned, Qui-Gon sought counsel from his former master, Count Dooku, who was still a Jedi at this point. In their meeting, Qui-Gon expressed his concerns about the Jedi becoming too entangled in the political affairs of the Republic, losing touch with the will of the Force. Dooku listened intently, agreeing that the Jedi's priorities had shifted in ways that clouded their judgment. He then asked Qui-Gon what his instincts told him. Without hesitation, Qui-Gon affirmed that Anakin needed to be trained, sensing that the Jedi were headed towards a decline and that Anakin was key to their salvation. Dooku, placing a reassuring hand on his old friend's shoulder, smiled warmly. He expressed pride in the Jedi that Qui-Gon had become and shared his eagerness to see what the future held for Anakin. This moment reinforced Qui-Gon's resolve to defy the Council's decisions and find a way to mentor Anakin, setting the stage for a divergent path that could alter the fate of the galaxy. In this alternate reality, the Battle of Naboo unfolds much like it does in the films, but with a crucial difference. Qui-Gon Jinn defeats Darth Maul. Triumphant yet troubled, Qui-Gon returns to the Jedi Temple to reiterate his warnings about the Sith's resurgence and to advocate for Anakin's training, asserting that the boy is central to the unfolding events. However, the Council remains skeptical. While they concede that the Sith may indeed have returned, they continue to resist the idea of training Anakin, citing his age and the obscurity of his future. Unlike the original timeline where the Council relented out of respect for Qui-Gon's dying wish, they now feel more confident in their stance, with Qui-Gon alive and assertive. Frustrated by what he sees as the Council's blindness and their departure from the will of the living Force, Qui-Gon makes a bold decision. He apologizes to the Council for what he's about to do, then announces his resignation from the Jedi Order. He declares his intent to take Anakin as his Padawan, independent of the Council's approval. Yoda, deeply disturbed by these events, acknowledges Qui-Gon's conviction, but cautions him with grave warning about the pervasive influence of the dark side, which he suggests has clouded the judgment of many, possibly including Qui-Gon himself. With a heavy heart and a respectful bow, Qui-Gon departs from the temple, determined to follow the path he believes the Force has laid out for him and Anakin. Qui-Gon determines to keep Anakin away from the core worlds and their tangled politics. He chose a more isolated path for training. Together, they visited decommissioned Jedi temples from the era of the High Republic, a time when the Jedi were deeply attuned to the will of the Force and brought hope to the darkest corners of the galaxy. The ancient sites, filled with relics of a more enlightened age, served as a perfect grounds for Anakin's education in the ways of the Force. Qui-Gon taught Anakin to listen to the Force, to feel how it connected everything in the universe, small and large. For Anakin, this was a revelation, opening his eyes to a world much larger and more interconnected than he had ever imagined. He quickly grew stronger in the Force, a testament to his immense potential. However, Qui-Gon noticed that Anakin's emotions were also strong. The boy often missed his mother and worried about her well-being back on Tatooine. Qui-Gon understood the depth of these feelings and instructed Anakin on the importance of acknowledging his emotions. He emphasized that the emotions were natural and not inherently detrimental. The key was to acknowledge them, without allowing them to dictate one's actions. Under Qui-Gon's guidance, Anakin learned to balance his feelings. With the discipline required of a Jedi, he began to master control over his emotions, integrating this control into his broader understanding of the Force. This growth marked a significant milestone in Anakin's journey, shaping him into a promising and balanced Jedi under Qui-Gon's watchful and wise tutelage. As the years passed, Anakin matured into adulthood, and his training with Qui-Gon proved to be exceptionally beneficial. Initially, Anakin was trained in the lightsaber form 4, Ataru, known for his acrobatics and quick movements. However, Anakin's insatiable thirst for knowledge drove him to master all the traditional lightsaber forms, perfecting each to an impressive degree. Qui-Gon was continually amazed by Anakin's ability to learn and adapt. His potential seemed boundless, and his rapid progression was beyond even Qui-Gon's expectations. During this period, Anakin began to experience vivid dreams, glimpses of the future that disturbed him deeply. He saw visions of his mother in agonizing pain, seemingly on the brink of death. Due to his extensive training and the emotional balance he had achieved under Qui-Gon's guidance, Anakin was more composed and level-headed in dealing with these visions. He approached Qui-Gon and shared what he had seen. Qui-Gon listened intently, then reminded Anakin,
"The future is always in motion. It is a river that changes course with every passing moment."
Placing a comforting hand on Anakin's shoulder, Qui-Gon asked,
"What do your instincts tell you?"
"She's in danger."
"Then we shall leave at once."
Together, they prepared for a journey back to Tatooine. Qui-Gon understood that this is not merely a matter of rescuing Anakin's mother, but also an important test of Anakin's commitment to the Jedi principles in the face of personal emotional challenges. Arriving on Tatooine, Anakin learned that his mother had been sold and subsequently married a moisture farmer. Determined, he and Qui-Gon made their way to the moisture farm. Upon reaching the Lars homestead, Anakin was confronted with a grim reality. His mother had been taken by Tusken raiders, and despite the family's efforts to locate her, she was now presumed dead. Initially, fear and anger surged through Anakin, emotions Qui-Gon could sense steering within his apprentice. However, Anakin took a deep breath, striving to center himself. Clearing his mind, he reached out with the Force and sensed that his mother was still alive. Looking up at Qui-Gon, no words were needed to be exchanged. Qui-Gon nodded, giving Anakin the go-ahead to rescue her. Anakin immediately jumped on his speeder, racing towards the camp where she was held. Stealthily, Anakin infiltrated the Tusken camp and found his way into the hut where his mother was being kept. She was in dire condition, barely clinging to life. Yet, upon seeing Anakin, a gentle smile spread across her face. Overwhelmed with emotion, she could scarcely believe the grown man her son had become. She expressed her pride in him and her love, telling him she was proud of the man he had become. The final words, filled with love and pride, were her last. It seemed she had held on just long enough to see her son one last time. As tears filled Anakin's eyes, the initial surge of pain threatened to overwhelm him, but remembering Qui-Gon's teachings, he took a deep breath to center himself. Drawing deeply from the Force, Anakin felt his mother's presence. She had become one with the living Force, her energy now permeating through every living thing. This connection brought a sense of positive energy, one that seemed to heal even the darkest corners of his grief. In that profound moment, his mother appeared before him as a vision, in perfect health, radiating peace. She smiled at Anakin and spoke words of internal wisdom. "Remember, no one is really ever gone." Although saddened, these words brought a deep sense of peace and relief to Anakin's heart. With renewed purpose, Anakin stealthily carried his mother's body from the Tusken village and returned to the Lars homestead. There, he ensured that she received a proper funeral, honoring her memory and the love she had always given him. This solemn act allowed Anakin to begin the process of healing, reinforcing the Jedi tenet that life continues in different forms, guided by the Force. As the Clone Wars escalated, Anakin and Qui-Gon found themselves increasingly drawn into the conflict. Despite their efforts to remain detached, the widespread destruction of planets, towns, and homes compelled them to intervene and provide aid wherever possible. However, the war's reach was vast, and eventually they found themselves embroiled in a skirmish with forces of the Confederacy, resulting in their capture. While in prison, they were unexpectedly greeted by Count Dooku, Qui-Gon's former master, who expressed surprise at finding them among the captives. Dooku quickly ordered their release, a gesture that did not completely mask the darker presence Qui-Gon sensed in him, a presence that had intensified since their last encounter. Dooku openly expressed his pride in seeing Qui-Gon train Anakin, especially against the wishes of the Jedi Council. He talked about the state of the Jedi Order, suggesting they had strayed far from their origins, becoming more disconnected from the true needs of the galaxy. Qui-Gon, who had deliberately kept himself and Anakin away from the war's politics, listened as Dooku painted a grim picture of the Republic. According to Dooku, the galaxy was deeply divided, with the Republic bureaucrats more concerned with maintaining their wealth and position of power than with the well-being of the people they were supposed to serve. Dooku's insight into the Republic's failings were designed to sway Qui-Gon, hinting at the justifications for his own turn to the dark side and his leadership role within the CIS. Dooku further elaborated on his motivations, portraying the separatist movement as an effort to liberate the galaxy's people from the Republic's oppressive grip. He claimed it was intended to restore the voice to those who had been silenced, a noble goal, perhaps, but one that Qui-Gon approached with skepticism. This is what Dooku thought the CIS initially stood for, until he realized who was controlling it. Dooku then shared a chilling revelation. The leader of the Separatists was a Sith Lord, who was also manipulating the Republic by playing both sides of the war. The Sith Lord's orchestration of the conflict suggested a deeper, more sinister strategy aimed at controlling the entire galaxy. Dooku implored Qui-Gon and Anakin to join him in defeating the Sith Lord, suggesting that their efforts could usher in a new era of peace and true democracy. Qui-Gon carefully weighed Dooku's words. He sensed the darkness within his former master, recognizing that this could very well be a trap. However, Qui-Gon also knew Dooku better than most. He understood that despite his fall to the dark side, Dooku was not inherently a murderer and still retained a trace of light within him. Reflecting on the prophecy of the Chosen One, Qui-Gon considered that it might be time for Anakin to fulfill his destiny by confronting the Sith. Anakin, having matured into a powerful Jedi under Qui-Gon's guidance, confidently assured his master that he was ready for whatever came next. Agreeing with Anakin's resolve and sensing the critical juncture at which they stood, Qui-Gon decided to move forward. Though the path was fraught with danger and uncertainty, he believed that this might be the moment for Anakin to step into his prophesized role and perhaps bring an end to the Sith's manipulation of the galaxy. Together, master and apprentice prepared to face this formidable challenge, ready to confront the darkness and strive for a return to peace and justice. Dooku's plan was to lure Palpatine into a trap by capturing Anakin and presenting him as a Jedi's chosen one. Sidious ordered Dooku to bring Anakin to the works, the sprawling industrial zone of Coruscant where the Sith Lord awaited them. As Dooku arrived with Anakin, Qui-Gon remained concealed within the ship, poised to intervene if necessary. Sidious approached with eagerness. Intrigued by the presence of the so-called Chosen One, he sensed the immense power emanating from Anakin and contemplated the potential of taking Anakin as his apprentice, considering him more suitable candidate than Dooku himself. Sidious engaged Anakin, probing his mind and testing his resolve. But Anakin, well-trained and steadfast, resisted the Sith Lord's manipulative tactics. Sidious recognized that his subtle ploys were ineffective, decided to change tactics. He circled Dooku and Anakin and, in a sudden, treacherous move, ignited his lightsaber, stabbing Dooku in the back. The betrayal was swift and brutal. As Dooku fell, Qui-Gon rushed from the ship, horror-stricken. Catching his former master in his arms, Sidious cackled at the unfolding drama taunting them.
Did you really think you could fool me?
With no hesitation, he unleashed a torrent of Force lightning at Anakin, who was thrown backwards and knocked unconscious by the powerful surge. Enraged, fueled by betrayal and the need to protect his apprentice, Qui-Gon ignited his lightsaber and engaged Sidious in a fierce duel. The duel between Qui Gon Jinn and Darth Sidious was a battle of both skill and will, unfolding amidst the harsh metallic landscape of the works on Coruscant. The area was dimly lit, with the ambient light casting long shadows, adding a dramatic tone to their confrontation. Qui-Gon, fueled by a mix of sorrow and fury over the betrayal and the fall of Dooku, approached the duel with a focused aggression that was tempered by his deep connection to the living force. He chose a defensive stance, initially utilizing the Form 3 Sorisu to counter Sidious's initial barrage of aggressive strikes. Sidious, wielding his lightsaber with precise and lethal intent, opted for a more offensive acrobatic Form 6 Nimen, which allowed him to blend lightsaber combat with his mastery of the dark side's force powers. Their duelists exchanged a fury of blows, their lightsabers clashing and sizzling in the air, casting eerie glows on their faces. Qui-Gon, ever the stoic and disciplined Jedi, attempted to find an opening in Sidious's defense, but the Sith Lord's speed and ferocity was daunting. Qui-Gon switched to Form 4 Ataru to incorporate more dynamic and powerful attacks, leaping and spinning with agility that belied his age, attempting to overpower Sidious's defense. Sidious, however, was a formidable opponent. His mastery of the Force allowed him to anticipate Qui-Gon's movements, countering with terrifying precision. He taunted Qui-Gon, attempting to unbalance him emotionally and exploit any lapse in concentration. The battle raged, moving amidst towering machinery through the narrow walkways, each combatant adapting their tactics in response to the other's moves. As the duel continued, Sidious began to unleash his full power, channeling the dark side to enhance his physical speed and strength. He began to dominate the fight, pushing Qui-Gon back with a relentless assault of force-enhanced strikes. Qui-Gon, feeling the strain, maintained his focus, relying heavily on his connection to the Force to sustain him. In a final, desperate bid to end the battle, Qui-Gon attempted a bold maneuver, leaping high to deliver a potentially decisive overhead strike. However, Sidious, foreseeing this move, stepped back and unleashed a powerful powerful burst of Force lightning mid-leap, catching Qui-Gon mid-air. The lightning seared through Qui-Gon, overwhelming his defenses and throwing him back hard onto the ground. Qui-Gon, severely weakened and in pain, struggled to rise. Sidious approached, lightsaber at the ready, his expression one of cold triumph. With a final, swift stroke, Sidious delivered the killing blow to Qui-Gon, who looked up at the Sith Lord with a mixture of defiance and resignation. As Qui-Gon's lightsaber clattered to the ground, his body went limp, his life extinguished by the very embodiment of the dark side he had fought so valiantly against. Following the grim conclusion of the duel, Darth Sidious orchestrated Anakin's transport to a secret base located on an unknown planet, far removed from any familiar territories or potential rescue. Anakin regained consciousness to find himself in a stark, dimly lit room, his body restrained to a cold, metal table, immobilized and vulnerable. As he struggled against his bonds, Palpatine entered the room, his presence as menacing as ever. Anakin demanded to know what had happened, to which Palpatine coldly revealed,
Your master has met his fate, and soon you will join him.
Without a further moment, Palpatine unleashed torrents of Force lightning at Anakin. The bolts were calibrated not to kill, but to inflict excruciating pain, a sadistic introduction to what would become a prolonged period of torture. Over the course of the next year, Anakin endured relentless physical and psychological torment. Sidious's goal was twofold: to shatter Anakin's will, forcing him to succumb to the dark side and become his apprentice, or failing that, to use him in another sinister way. Anakin, possessing the highest recorded count of midichlorians, represented a unique opportunity for Sidious. If he couldn't be turned, then his exceptional genetic traits could perhaps be replicated. Between sessions of torture, Sidious and his team conducted numerous tests and experiments attempting to clone Anakin. Cloning a Force-sensitive being, especially one as powerful as Anakin, proved to be an exceedingly difficult challenge. The complexities of replicating the unique confluence of Force sensitivity and genetic material in Anakin were beyond current scientific capabilities. Each attempt resulted in a failure, but Palpatine was undeterred, driven by his obsession to either bend Anakin to his will or exploit his unique attributes to create a new kind of weapon. This dark period marked a crucial chapter in Anakin's life, testing his resilience and his commitment to the Jedi teachings he had learned from Qui-Gon. During this grueling year under Palpatine's torment, Anakin harbored deep-seated hatred for the Sith Lord. He also racked with guilt over his perceived failure to save Qui-Gon. However, the teachings of his late master helped to manage these turbulent emotions. Qui-Gon had taught Anakin to acknowledge his feelings without letting them dominate him. Meanwhile, the galaxy continued its descent into chaos. Darth Maul, who had survived his encounter with Qui-Gon years earlier by clinging to the dark side, had returned to become Sidious's apprentice once again. The Clone Wars raged on, and the Jedi, now acting more as war generals than peacekeepers, had drifted far from their original values. The shift led to a widespread disillusionment within the Jedi Order, setting the stage for the catastrophic Order 66. Under Maul's lead, the clones stormed the Jedi Temple in a brutal assault, decimating the Jedi ranks across the galaxy. From deep within Palpatine's lair, Anakin felt the ripple of loss and destruction sweeping through the Force. Despite his physical imprisonment, he knew he needed to act, but his options seemed non-existent until the spirit of Qui Gon Jinn appeared to him as a Force ghost. Qui-Gon reminded him of the importance of balance within oneself, encouraging Anakin to embrace his emotions but not be controlled by them. Inspired by Qui-Gon's words, Anakin began to channel both the dark and the light sides of the Force, integrating them into a more potent, unified force within himself. This newfound balance unleashed Anakin's full potential. With a surge of power, he shattered his physical bindings. As alarms blared throughout the base, Anakin was immediately set upon by clone troopers. With his powers at their peak, he cut through his attackers relentlessly, his actions a blend of desperation and a newfound purpose. Reaching the hangar, Anakin commandeered a ship, setting his course for Coruscant. Arriving at Coruscant, Anakin wasted no time in heading straight for Palpatine's office in the Senate building. The timing of his arrival was critical. He walked into a dire scene where the final confrontation between the Jedi and Palpatine was unfolding. Master Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi had been attempting to subdue the Sith Lord. Tragically, Obi-Wan had already fallen, leaving Yoda alone to battle Palpatine. As Anakin entered, Palpatine, using his formidable Sith powers, had just overwhelmed Yoda, sending the Jedi Master crashing down towards the Senate floor. Anakin, fully tapped into his mastery of the Force, caught Yoda mid-fall, preventing further injury. Without missing a beat, Anakin then used the Force to propel Yoda back towards Palpatine, aiding him in continuing the fight. Palpatine, taken aback by Anakin's unexpected intervention and newfound newfound strength, barely had time to recover before Anakin was upon him. Fueled by a blend of rage, determination, and the balance of the Force within him, Anakin surged forward, ascending rapidly towards Palpatine's position. The duel between Anakin, Yoda, and Darth Sidious within the Senate chamber was a spectacle of the Force mastery and lightsaber prowess. As the duel unfolded, the participants moved with such speed and intensity that they appeared as blurs to any onlooker. The entire chamber resonated with energy of their conflict, the sounds of clashing lightsabers echoing off the walls. Anakin, driven by a profound determination to end Sidious's reign, fought with a relentless ferocity. His style was a seamless integration of multiple forms, reflecting his complete mastery and his unique ability to blend techniques. He advanced in powerful, controlled bursts, his lightsaber a whirlwind of blue light. Yoda, nimble and wise, complemented Anakin's strength with his own distinctive fighting style. Despite his small stature, Yoda moved with incredible agility, leaping and spinning around Palpatine, forcing the Sith Lord to divide his attention and defend on multiple fronts. Sidious, for his part, wielded the dark side with unmatched brutality. His attacks were not only physically aggressive, but also aimed to manipulate and intimidate, attempting to exploit any hint of doubt or fear in his opponents. His red lightsaber moved with deadly precision, and he occasionally unleashed torrents of force lightning, adding to the chaos of battle. The duel reached the critical moment when Palpatine, sensing an opportunity, directed a fierce onslaught towards Anakin. He unleashed a particularly vicious series of attacks, pushing Anakin back. Anakin defended skillfully, countering with equal intensity, but Palpatine's experience in the dark side tactics gave him a slight edge. With a sudden, unexpected maneuver, Palpatine managed to disarm Anakin, sending his lightsaber clattering away across the Senate floor. Before Anakin could recover, Palpatine struck again, this time using the Force to hurl a barrage of Senate pods at him, aiming to disorientate and weaken him. Anakin dodged most, but the distraction was enough for Palpatine to close in. With a swift motion fueled by dark energy, Palpatine extended his hands, unleashing a concentrated burst of Force lightning directed at Anakin's hands. The lightning seared through Anakin, the excruciating pain causing him to scream in agony. The electrical energy was so intense that it charred his hands, rendering them severely injured and non-functional. Anakin fell to his knees, overcome by pain and momentarily defenseless. Yoda, witnessing the brutal attack, intensified his efforts, his own lightsaber moving in a blur as he sought to protect Anakin and continue the fight. Despite the setback, Anakin, driven by sheer will and desire to end Sidious's tyranny, struggled to rise, his eyes burning with resolve and pain. The duel was far from over, with Yoda leading the charge and Anakin, despite his injuries, prepared to fight on in any way he could. The stakes were higher than ever, with the fate of the galaxy hanging precariously in the balance. With Anakin grievously injured and kneeling on the Senate floor, Yoda ramped up his assault, knowing well that he needed to keep Sidious engaged and prevent him from delivering a final blow to Anakin. Yoda's movements became a blur of green light as he put all of his millennia of training and experience into action against the Sith Lord. Despite his diminutive size, Yoda's agility and mastery of the Force made him a formidable opponent for Sidious. Sidious, taken aback by the ferocity of Yoda's renewed attacks, was too focused entirely on the Jedi Master. Lightning crackled and lightsabers clashed in a rapid exchange that was almost impossible to follow. Sidious's face contorted with frustration and rage as he found it increasingly difficult to penetrate Yoda's defense. Meanwhile, Anakin, driven by a mixture of pain, anger, and determination, used his immense connection to the Force to pull his lightsaber back to his severely injured hands. Clenching his teeth against the pain, he ignited the blade once more, using the Force to compensate for his physical limitations. Rising to his feet, he rejoined Yoda in the fight, his movements slower and more deliberate due to his injuries, but still powerful and precise. Together, Anakin and Yoda created a relentless assault on Sidious. Anakin, relying more on the Force than on his physical body, managed to become a conduit of both the light and dark sides. The unique blend of energies made his attacks unpredictable and difficult for Sidious to counter. Sidious, realizing the danger of facing two powerful Jedi, intensified his use of the dark side. He hurled more pods with great force and unleashed torrents of lightning with devastating ferocity. However, the combined efforts of Anakin and Yoda began to wear him down. Each block and parry cost him more energy, and the Sith Lord's movements started to show signs of fatigue. In a moment of desperation, Sidious attempted to exploit the situation by focusing another vicious attack on Anakin, aiming to use the young Jedi's injuries against him, but Anakin, foreseeing the move, used his pain as a catalyst to enhance his connection to the Force. He deflected Sidious's lightning with his lightsaber, directing the energy back towards the Sith Lord. Caught off guard, Sidious staggered under the unexpected counterattack. Yoda seized the moment, leaping forward, and with a powerful strike, he killed the Sith Lord. If you like this story, be sure to hit that like button as it really does help the channel grow, and if you want to see other what ifs, leave your comments down below with your ideas. Also, if this video hits 1,000 likes, I will be giving away a 3D printed, electroplated Anakin Skywalker replica hilt. It's really cool and I think you guys will like it.